Okay, Brian, this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to tie up a looper bug. Just the general stuff. There's so many things you could do. It's endless. So I'm just going to tie up a basic one so you can get the simplistics down. First thing you need, of course, a jig. And you can never have too many of them. I've got a million jigs piled up. I'll try to find one here. Let's see. I'll do a white one just because they're easy to see. Okay. So here's my white jig head. You see that? Ooh, where is it? Hello. There you are. My little white jig head. This one's actually a little bigger than what I normally use, but for tying sake, it makes it a lot easier. It gets a little too thin for me. Just takes a lot more time when you're tying these big bugs anyways. So the first thing you want to do is get your jig head in your vise. Just like this. So you can see that. I'll bring it in. Just like that. Typically what I do is I'll take my thread, wrap it around my finger once or twice. Got my bobbin here, so everything's good. Then I'll start at the top and I'll just wrap through. Because what you want to do is you want to lay down that base. Now you could go, a lot of guys will go, 3/4 of the way. I go, almost all the way to the end where the hook starts turning here. So the next thing I'll do is I'll bring it back up. I'll bring just this back up to the top of the bug like this. Then what I do is I grab my scissors. Here's another thing that you can never spend too much money on is scissors. If there's one thing that you need to buy that you need to spend money on, it's scissors, because it'll save you a lot of headache. So what I do is I just take that end that I tied over, or threaded over, and just snip that off. I usually leave about that much on there. And then what you do is you pull this up towards the front of the jig like so, and then you just take your thread and you wrap back around again all the way down to the bottom. Now when you do this second wrap here, you don't need to cover every square inch. You just need to wrap it down to the bottom. Then what I do is I take the tag end like so, and I pull it back to the back, and I go back up top with it. So once you get done with that, you got a good base. Then I take and this tag end that's left over, I just take and trim it off. The next thing that you want to do is always put a half hitch. I always put a half hitch after everything that I do, whether it's tying on the base or putting on feathers, whatever. I just like it because it holds my line, and I think it makes the jig last longer. So a half hitch, basically just take your two fingers pointing away from you here with you got your thread. You want to put your fingers on the thread. As you can see, I'm pushing here. Then come back up this way with the bobbin and lay it over the top. Then you just wrap this. Actually, it goes like this. So you're on the back side of it. You're on the back side, or the front side of the jig. I'm sorry. So you're on the front side of the jig. You want to make your loop and then just pull it through and tighten it up. Now you could do two. Sometimes I do two here. It just depends on the day or what I'm doing. So once I get that half hitch on there, now it's secure. It won't go anywhere. You got your bobbin here, sitting, dangling. It's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to move this over here so you can probably see it a little better. I hope anyway. Be a little closer to it. So bear with me. There we go. Now we're in the money. So next step is going to be to put your hair on. I've just got a scrap of bucktail here that I'm going to use because it's here. So you can make them as long or short as you want. Sometimes I make them longer and then I trim them off depending on what the fish want. So you got your bucktail. You just take and put it in your hand and cut it off. This is where good scissors is going to come into hand. You just want that nice flat edge right here so you're not having trouble when you put it on there. So I've got it pinched in my hand here. I've got this ready to go. And what you do is you just take and you set it on the back like this, just like this. Just grab the hook with your thumb and your pointer finger, and hold it tight there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start your wrap you get a few of them on there to start with. It doesn't have to be perfect, but see, now it's on there. So once you get that on there, you can kind of let go of it. You know, get 3 or 4 wraps on there. Again, it depends on how far down you want to go. Sometimes I go all down long ways. Sometimes I only go a little ways. Depends on how big you want your thorax or your body to be. This part right here is the thorax and the body where you're wrapping your thread. So I put that on there, and then of course, like I said, half hitch every time you put something on. So you're going to take your thread, wrap it around your fingers like this, spread your fingers a little bit. You're going to take the end of your bobbin and you're just going to hook it on there like so, like this, and then you're going to pull this around, up, and then pull it tight. It's hard to do until you get the hang of it. Once you get the hang of it, you're like, it's really easy to do, but it's hard to try to teach somebody how to do that, especially over the internet. So the next step, so we got our thread in there. The next step we're going to do is we're going to tie on some flash. And what color flash should we use? Let's grab, we'll just grab this Marabou flash. Can never have enough of it. I've got more than I need, but I always use different stuff, and it seems to work. You can use 3, or 4 strands of this. Sometimes I use 8, sometimes I use 5. It's just personal preference, or what you think the fish might want. So you can see I've got them there. So you just, again, hold it with in the package with your finger, clip it off. Then you got it like you were holding your thread. Just hold it like this. Lay it over the jig. Again, holding on just like when you wrap your thread. Get like 3 or 4 wraps on it, and then tighten it down. So this is a really ugly jig. I would normally not use a white jig with brown thread and black bucktail and copper covering. So you got that on there now. So the next step, forgot to do our half hitch. Let's do our half hitch. So the next step that we're going to do is, if you want to put legs on it. I'm going to trim this off right here because I don't like it. There. So if you want to put legs on it, and tying legs can be sometimes a pain. It just depends on how you want to do it. Again, everybody has their own little way to do it, but you get your rubber legs. They come in big strips like this. What I do is I just take it, I just cut off a chunk, about 3 inches long. That's probably too long there, but I cut off a chunk of them. Then what I do is I take and you could separate them. Well, I separate 2 from the bunch. So as you can see here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I've got 2 silly legs and they're still connected together. The way that I found the easiest way to do this is especially when you first start, is to just keep them together like this. And again, just like you're putting your hair on, lay them flat alongside the back. You want your, depending on where you want it to start, I want these to be in the middle. So I just lay them flat like this on the back of it, holding it tight. I make a couple wraps, 1, 2, like 3 wraps. So now you've got it secured on there, just like that. So you can, if you want the legs, like in this case, let's bring the legs all the way down to the bottom of the thorax or body. There we go. So they're definitely not going anywhere. So then what I do is I take it, I pull the top legs back like this. I just pull them back and hold them back, and I bring my string up and I wrap in here. Well, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, you don't have to do that at all, but if you want these legs to be sticking up like this, then you'll have to put a couple reps in there. Sometimes I like the legs to be pointed to the back. So I will take and I will just keep, the more you do it, see, the farther back it's going to sit. So that's perfect for where I want it. So once you get that done, you just put your thing on there and put a couple more wraps on there, and again, do your half hitch. So now we've got everything on there that we're going to put on as far as that stuff goes in on this bug. The next thing that you want to do is to put, and again, you don't do it on everyone, but if you want to add dubbing to it. So let me grab my dubbing here. me grab my dubbing. And again, dubbing, there's a million different colors, types. You can never have too much of it. So if you want like a more fluffy, like a woolly bugger type body, you want to use like squirrel dubbing, this stuff, because it'll puff up a lot more. I like to use it. I mean, it's probably 50-50 as far as what I do. I've got a lot of like I don't even really remember what this is called, but one bag will last you a long, long, long time. And this stuff lays pretty flat. This black here, and same with this brown right here. This stuff lays pretty flat, so it actually doesn't give that buggy, I guess buggy type of feeling feel that or sight that you get. It kind of lays flat, which sometimes that's what you want. I mean, sometimes you just want a little tiny bit of dubbing on there. So we put our half hitch in there. The next thing you're going to want to get, if you don't already have it, or I think you need it, is the dubbing wax. I tried to do it the old-fashioned way, and it was such a pain in the butt. So I found some of this, and it made my life a lot easier. So you just take your string right here, your thread, which is running right here, and just put a couple bits on there, and then I like to take my thumb or my fingers and just go like this to get the big clumps off. They'll go away anyway once it goes in the water. But so what we'll do is now dubbing. What a lot of guys do when they first start is they take too much dubbing, way too much. So I like to start with small. So I mean, you just take a little pinch of dubbing, and what you do is you just take and you hold your bobbin and you just spin it on there like this. And it takes, I mean, again, once you do it a couple times, it gets a lot easier. So you just take and spin it on your thread like this. Pull a little bit out, put it on. Dubbing, you can always add more if you don't put enough on to begin with. But it's once you get it, if you put too much on, then it becomes a pain. So just keep adding it. And like usually if you're going to do a whole body and you don't want it too buggy, you want to go down like 4 or 5 inches on your string. Just keep adding it on there. Keep adding. Like so. When I first started, I know I would always put on too much dubbing, and it would look globby, and I never liked it. But after a while, you just keep practicing, and you can get it. So, all right, I think we got enough on there now. You can see my dubbing is on there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start. I work my way to the back all the time. One other thing, too, is you always want to wrap away from you. I'm sure you know. Wrap it away. Wrap the thread, always wrap away from you, no matter what you're doing. Unless you're putting on like some wire or something like that, you can go the other way. Sometimes I go the other way with that. But I didn't add any here. So we're just applying our dubbing here. You can see I'm just working it up here. Working it up. See, now I didn't put enough on there, so I got to put some more on, which is fine. So we'll just add some more here. And sometimes I'll mix these colors. Like I'll put black on, and then I'll take a pinch of brown and put a pinch of brown on, or flash, or whatever whatever I'm trying to do. If I want it to stick out, I'll stick some fluorescent on there or something. It just depends. So, grab too much. So, getting there slowly but surely. I probably have enough on there now. I probably put too much on. Okay. So I got the more dubbing to put on to get to the back. So I'm just going to finish wrapping it up to the top. Like so. When I get to the top, I like to, kind of pull it a little bit. But once I get to the top like this, I just clean off my string if there's anything left on there. I go around maybe 1-2 times. And then again, you're going to put your half hitch on there. Just like so. Put your half hitch. And so we've got it tied on there. So the next thing you're going to want to do, and this is something again that you have to have, is this whip finisher. I don't know if you use that or what you do, but the whip finisher, it took me a long time to learn how to use it, just by watching videos on YouTube and stuff. But once I did, oh man, it makes it a lot easier and a lot nicer. So you put your half hitch in there to stop it. You know, we're going to go ahead and I would try to show you how to whip finish this, but trying to teach someone is really hard. It's kind of an acquired thing, and you just got to practice at it. So what you do is you get it in there, and what I do, especially for looper bugs because they're bigger, is I'll put like 5 wraps on here, and then I'll release it, pull it tight, and then I'll do another like 5. And then pull it tight, release it, pull it tight. There you go. Some guys only do 3 wraps and they feel that's good enough. Some guys do 10 at one time or whatever. You know, everybody does it differently. But I found if I do 5 and then 5, especially on looper bugs, it lasts. So we're done with that. So I'm going to take and cut my string here right up flush. So then what I do, once I get this done here now, sometimes I'll leave that flash. Sometimes I'll leave that longer. It just depends on what you're looking for. Sometimes, you know, a lot of times with crappie stuff, I'll make it really long. But with bugs, it just depends on what I'm doing. So what I do is I take my bottom set of legs here. Once I get that done, and I just make sure I don't have any hair in there. I usually trim that about even with the end of the hair. Again, depends. Sometimes you can leave them longer, and they want that stuff. They want the longer legs. So sometimes I'll leave them longer. And then what you do is once you do that, just take and separate the 2 legs that were connected, like so. Oh, come on. Like this. Okay, so I pulled them apart. So you get your 2 legs there, and then do the top ones. Now, these top ones are a bit longer. I'll shorten them up. I'll shorten them up a bit. Again, sometimes I'll leave them long, sometimes I'll make them shorter. So that is your basic looper bug. Not much to it. Again, I do everyone different, so you're never going to duplicate anything. I mean, you can, but a lot of times I'll make everything different. But even like the space between the legs and stuff, and you can start messing around with that. As far as the jig heads go, I'll make a video on that another day. As far as how I do them, dip them and spin them. It's kind of a neat little machine. But I'm gonna go ahead, and another thing I do, and a lot of guys don't or too lazy to, is clean your eye out now. It makes it a heck of a lot easier when you're doing it now versus when you're out on the lake trying to get it done and your hands are cold, especially looper fishing. So I just clean them up a little bit with the knife. Let's get that cleaned off of there. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. And then my trusty little safety pin. Poke that through, give it a spin. And that jig is ready for the water. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions. And that's it.